So I've always been a technologist. And 8 years ago, on this stage, I was warning about the problems of social media. And I saw how a lack of clarity around the downsides of that technology and kind of an inability to really confront those consequences led to a totally preventable societal catastrophe.
That was Tristan Harris speaking in April 2025 at TED. The same voice who tried to warn us about social media before it rewired our brains, our democracies, and our attention spans. And now he's back with a new warning, this time about AI. I'm Stephen, co-host of the AI Transition podcast, and what struck me most about this talk wasn't just the tech that he was describing, it was the human impact. What happens when your role is replaced, your identity is disrupted, your sense of worth quietly shaken. So today I'm going to pause on a few key moments of Tristan's talk and reflect on what they mean for you. And I really encourage you to go and listen to the full talk, links in the description. So let's dive in.
But we don't talk about the probable, what's actually likely to happen due to the incentives, and how the business models of maximizing engagement I saw 10 years ago would obviously lead to rewarding doom scrolling, more addiction, more distraction, and that resulted in the most anxious and depressed generation of our lifetime. Now, it was interesting watching kind of how this happened, because at first I saw people kind of doubt these consequences. We didn't really want to face it. Then we said, well, maybe this is just a new moral panic. Maybe this is just a reflexive fear of new technology. Then the data started rolling in. And then we said, well, this is just inevitable. This is just what happens when you connect people on the internet. But we had a chance to make a different choice about the business models of engagement. And had we made that choice 10 years ago, I want you to reimagine how different the world might have been if we had changed that incentive.
So that story about social media, for me, that's what skipping the ending phase looks like. In transitions work, we say change is external, but transition is internal within yourself. And social media, I don't think we didn't grieve the loss of trust or shared reality. We just charged forward. And now with AI, we're probably just doing this again. This isn't just about the tech. For me, it's about identity, purpose. So what I want you to think of is, what do we need to let go of before we step into what's next with AI? Because I think that without that, this transition is going to get stuck. And then so do we. So let's hear some more from Tristan.
A different way to think about it is Dario Amodei says that AI is like a country full of geniuses in a data center. So imagine there's a map and a new country shows up on the world stage, and it has 1 million Nobel Prize level geniuses in it. Except they don't eat, they don't sleep, they don't complain. They work at superhuman speed, and they'll work for less than minimum wage. That is a crazy amount of power. To give an intuition, there was about, on the order of 50 Nobel Prize level scientists on the Manhattan Project working for 5-ish years. And if that could lead to this, what could 1 million Nobel Prize level scientists create working 24/7 at superhuman speed?
So I love a good metaphor, and 1 million Nobel geniuses working 24/7 for less than the minimum wage, that sounds fantastic. Yeah, but I'm sure for many of us, it also hits a bit like a punch to the gut, to be honest. Because if you write, teach, code, design, diagnose, then this isn't abstract for you. This is your value that's on the line. And in transition coaching, we call this a workquake, when what you do, who you are, starts to come apart. And that loss is not always visible. It's internal, but it's really real. So here's the deeper question that comes up for me when I'm listening to that. Who are you becoming in this sort of transition? And what will worth mean in a world where AI might outwork you, but can't necessarily outhuman you? And will that matter in the broad scheme of things anyway? Let's listen to some more from Tristan.
We're currently releasing the most powerful, inscrutable, uncontrollable technology we've ever invented that's already demonstrating behaviors of self-preservation and deception that we only saw in science fiction movies, We're releasing it faster than we've released any other technology in history, and with under the maximum incentive to cut corners on safety. And we're doing this so that we can get to utopia? There's a word for what we're doing right now. This is insane. This is insane. Now, how many people in this room feel comfortable with this outcome? How many of you feel uncomfortable with this outcome? I see almost everyone's hands up. Do you think, just notice how you're feeling for a moment in your body. Do you think that if you're someone who's in China or in France or in the Middle East and you're part of building AI, that if you were exposed to the same set of facts, do you think you would feel any differently than anyone in this room? There's a universal human experience to something that is being threatened by the way that we're currently rolling this profound technology out into society. So if this is crazy, why are we doing it? Because people believe it's inevitable. But is the current way that we're rolling out AI actually inevitable? Like if literally no one on Earth wanted this to happen, would the laws of physics push the AI out into society? There's a critical difference between believing it's inevitable, which is a self-fulfilling prophecy that you're fatalistic, and standing from the place of it's really difficult to imagine how we would do something different.
It's inevitable. So that phrase, it sounds like realism, and maybe it is. Maybe this is a complete runaway train, this whole AI transition. But what also comes up for me when I hear that is it also sounds like resignation. And I hear that all the time in coaching. It's too late, it's out of my hands. And yet every major shift, both personal and in human history, has usually started with someone saying, what if it isn't? What if we can choose a different path? That's what really resonated with Tristan's talk for me. William Bridges said that transition begins with an ending and ends with a new beginning. And in that messy middle, that's where agency lives. And that messy middle, that is where we are just now. So I'm not sure what's possible here. The forces that are in play are among the most powerful that have ever been assembled. But don't you need to do something? So if you're feeling uneasy about where all this is going, you're not alone. But remember, transition isn't something that happens to you. It's something that you can learn to navigate. That's what we try and explore every week on the AI transition, real conversations about real people living through this once in a generation shift. So if this resonated, I would love you to subscribe here on YouTube, or if you're listening on the podcast, follow wherever you're listening, because the world is changing, but you still have agency, you still have a choice, and you still matter. So thanks for watching. I'm Stephen, and I'll see you in the next one.